The sun burned like a giant fireball over the endless red desert of Viridian 9. Rocks jutted out of the ground like broken teeth, and the wind blew hot dust that stung the skin. The world seemed empty, harsh, and cruel, but in the distance a small trembling figure ran as fast as her legs could carry her. My mommy is tied to a rock. Please, someone help her," the little alien girl cried. Her voice was high and scared, echoing across the empty plains. She had 4 shimmering eyes wide with fear, and tears ran down her smooth blue skin. Her tiny hands were shaking as she ran over the jagged stones, desperate and alone. The desert was dangerous. Creatures with sharp claws and hungry teeth roamed these lands, and few dared to enter. But somewhere near the rocks, a human explorer named Marcus Trent was searching for water and supplies. He was tall, strong, and cautious, but when he heard the child's cries, something deep inside him stirred. Compassion, the kind humans were proud of, flared like fire in his chest. He sprinted toward the sound, careful not to trip over the stones. The closer he got, the louder the girl's cries became, until finally he saw them. Tied to a jagged rock under the scorching sun was a tall alien woman. Her smooth silver hair gleamed in the sunlight. Her hands were bound behind her back, the thick ropes cutting into her glowing blue skin. Her body swayed as she struggled to stay upright, weak from thirst and sunburn. Her chest heaved with each breath. Next to her, the little girl was trying to pull the ropes off, but she was too small and weak. She looked at Marcus with wide, pleading eyes. You can help, right?" she asked, voice shaking. "Please, my mommy. She's burning in the sun." Marcus knelt down, putting his hands on the child's shoulders. "I'll help her," he said firmly. "You don't have to worry." The girl's eyes shone with hope, and she grabbed his hand tightly. Together, they began loosening the ropes. Marcus worked quickly, careful not to hurt her mother while the child tried to pull the knots free. The ropes were rough, and the sun made everything feel hotter and slower. But slowly, the knots began to loosen. Finally, Marcus freed the woman's hands. She collapsed forward, exhausted, and he caught her just in time. Her silver hair fell over her face, and her glowing blue skin shimmered with sweat and pain. "Thank you," she whispered, voice trembling. She looked at Marcus with fear, confusion, and relief all at once. "You're safe now," Marcus said softly. "You're not alone anymore." The child hugged her mother tightly, tears falling freely. "See, Mommy."
"He saved you!"
"He's a hero!" she cried. Alara, the mother, managed a weak smile. We owe you our lives," she said, her voice hoarse. Marcus shook his head. "No, you're alive, and that's what matters. I'm just doing the right thing." But the sun was still blazing, and the desert was unforgiving. They could not stay there. Marcus knew they needed water, shade, and safety, and quickly. He helped Alara to her feet, supporting her weight. Lyra, the little girl, ran beside them, still clutching his hand tightly. As they moved across the harsh red sands, Marcus felt something he had not felt in a long time. Humanity might be small and fragile in this vast galaxy, but courage, kindness, and heart could shine brighter than any weapon or machine. And today, that heart would keep them alive. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, red and unforgiving under the burning sun. Marcus helped Alara take careful steps, supporting her as they walked across the jagged rocks. Each step was heavy, the heat pressing down on them like a weight, but he refused to stop. Lyra, small and determined, ran beside them, holding Marcus's hand tightly. "Are humans always like you?" Alara asked weakly, her voice barely above a whisper. Sweat dripped down her glowing blue skin, and her chest rose and fell with each shallow breath. Marcus shook his head with a small smile. "Not always, but some of us, we try to help when it matters most." Lyra's eyes widened. "He saved Mommy. You're like a hero," she said, her voice filled with awe. She clutched her mother's arm, not letting go. Alara smiled faintly, exhaustion and relief in her eyes. "We owe you more than words can say," she said softly. Marcus looked at them, feeling a warmth inside that he had not felt in years. Humanity was small, yes, fragile in the galaxy, but moments like this reminded him that compassion and courage could shine brighter than any weapon. Today, that courage mattered more than anything. They walked for hours, the sun climbing higher and higher. Every rock they crossed seemed sharper, every step heavier. Lyra stumbled once, her tiny legs tiring, and Marcus caught her before she fell. She looked up at him, eyes wide with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. "Don't thank me. Just stay strong. That's what matters. Suddenly the wind shifted, carrying a low, dangerous growl. Marcus froze. His heart raced. He knew the desert was full of predators, creatures that could tear them apart in seconds. He motioned for Alara and Lyra to stay close. A massive sand creature emerged from behind a rock formation, its eyes gleaming with hunger. Its jaws opened wide, rows of jagged teeth glinting in the sun. Lyra whimpered and hid behind her mother, her tiny body shaking with fear. Marcus stepped forward, energy knife in hand, ready to defend them. "Stay back," he shouted, voice firm and commanding. The creature snarled, circling them, but Marcus didn't falter. He lunged, slashing the air with his knife, cutting close enough to scare the beast without hurting it too badly. The sand creature roared and retreated, disappearing into the shadows. Alara's eyes were wide, filled with awe. "You risked yourself for us. Twice today," she said, voice trembling. Marcus shook his head. "It's not about risk. It's about doing what's right. That's what humans do. That's what anyone with a heart does." The three of them continued their journey, every step a struggle, but their spirits lifted slightly. They shared water, rationed what little food they had, and kept moving toward a distant ridge where Marcus hoped they might find shelter. Lyra never let go of her mother, and she clung to Marcus too, trusting him completely. Seeing her faith in him, seeing Alara rely on his strength, Marcus felt a deep sense of responsibility. They were not just travelers in a dangerous desert. They were a family, bound together by trust and hope. By late afternoon, the sun began to lower, casting long shadows across the jagged plains. Marcus spotted a small alcove near a cluster of rocks, a place that could shield them from the heat and predators. He guided them carefully, helping Alara and lifting Lyra over sharp stones. When they reached the alcove, Marcus lowered Alara gently to the ground. She closed her eyes, breathing heavily, exhausted from the journey. Lyra curled up beside her mother, still clutching Marcus's hand. "You saved us," Alara whispered again, voice full of gratitude and emotion. "I don't know how to thank you." Marcus knelt beside them, brushing dust from their clothes. "No need to thank me. You're alive, and that's all that matters. Tonight, you're safe. That's enough." As the sun dipped closer to the horizon, painting the desert in red and gold, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The desert was harsh, predators still roamed, and danger could come at any moment. But as long as he had courage, heart, and determination, he would protect this small family. And tonight, under the burning sky, humanity's strength, its compassion and bravery, shone brighter than any sun. The sun had begun to sink behind the jagged horizon, turning the desert sky into shades of red and gold. The heat finally softened, but the day's struggle had left Alara and Lyra exhausted. Marcus guided them carefully toward a small alcove between two towering rocks. It wasn't much, but it promised safety from the scorching sun and the predators that prowled the desert floor. Alara sank to the ground, her glowing blue skin shimmering with sweat. I don't know how we survived today," she whispered, voice trembling. Lyra curled up beside her, still shivering from fear and exhaustion. Marcus knelt beside them, placing a hand gently on Alara's shoulder. "You're safe now," he said softly. "The sun can't burn you here, and the desert can't hurt you. Not tonight." The little girl's eyes, still wide and shimmering, looked up at him. "Promise. You won't leave us?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Her tiny hands clutched at his sleeve. Marcus smiled gently and crouched so he could meet her gaze. "I promise. I won't leave you. You're not alone anymore." For a few minutes, silence fell over the group. The desert wind whispered softly against the rocks, and the fading sunlight made the world look like it was glowing. Marcus could see the fear in their eyes slowly fading, replaced by a fragile trust. Alara took a deep, shaky breath. "I should have protected Lyra, but I couldn't, and now—" She swallowed hard, her throat dry. "You saved us twice. I don't know how to thank you." Marcus shook his head. "No thanks needed. You're alive. That's all that matters." He glanced at the little girl who was now resting her head on her mother's arm. Sometimes being human isn't about strength or weapons. It's about heart, courage, doing what's right even when it's hard. The child's eyes sparkled with awe. "So, humans are brave?" she asked softly. Marcus smiled. "Some of us are. And tonight, bravery matters more than anything." As night fell, the temperature dropped and the desert's red sands turned a soft purple under the twin moons. Marcus helped Ilara lean against a rock for support, while he gathered some small stones and pieces of dry brush to make a tiny fire. The warmth wasn't much, but it gave comfort, and the small flames danced across the rocks, casting shadows that made the alcove feel safer. "Thank you for staying," Ilara said quietly, watching the fire. "I felt so hopeless. Alone, but you..." Her voice broke and she looked at Marcus with gratitude and something deeper, something almost like awe. Marcus knelt down beside her and placed a comforting hand on her arm. "I didn't stay because I had to. I stayed because it's the right thing to do. Because your life matters." Lyra yawned, her tiny body curled up against her mother. "I feel safe," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "Thanks to you," Marcus's chest tightened. This was why he had come to the desert, why humans had always pushed beyond their limits in the galaxy. Not for glory, not for riches, but to protect life. To show that even a small, fragile species could shine in moments of courage. The night grew quiet. Only the whispers of the wind through the rocks breaking the silence. Marcus kept watch, eyes scanning the desert for any sign of danger. But for now, the mother and child were safe. Their breathing slowed, and for the first time since the morning, Marcus allowed himself to relax slightly. In the shadows of the desert, under alien moons, humanity's light glimmered quietly. Not through weapons, not through machines, but through simple acts of courage, kindness, and heart. And tonight, that light would guide them through the darkness, keeping them alive until the sun rose again. The night was quiet, but the desert was never truly safe. Marcus stayed alert, his eyes scanning the shadows beyond the rock alcove. The fire flickered weakly, casting long, dancing shadows across Ilara and Lyra. The mother rested against the rock, exhausted, while her child slept curled beside her. For a moment, Marcus allowed himself to hope that the worst was over. But the desert had a way of proving humans wrong. From the horizon, a low hum grew louder, cutting through the silence. Marcus stiffened. He recognized the sound immediately. The raiders, a group of alien mercenaries in sleek hovercrafts moving fast across the sands, searching for their captives. The ropes on Ilara's wrists had not been enough to break their will. They were coming to take her back. Marcus whispered urgently to the sleeping Ilara and Lyra. "Wake up. We have company." Ilara's eyes opened slowly, fear flashing in her glowing blue gaze. They found us?" she asked, voice trembling. Marcus shook his head slightly. "Not yet. But they will if we don't move carefully. Stay close to me. Follow my lead." He quickly scanned the alcove. There was no way to outrun the raiders across the open desert. They were too fast. Marcus had to use his wits. He pointed to a narrow canyon path nearby. "We'll go through here. It's narrow, and they can't bring all their hovercrafts through at once. That will give us a chance." Ilara nodded weakly, trusting him completely. Lyra clung to her mother, and Marcus took the lead, his eyes sharp for any danger. As they moved, Marcus gathered small stones and debris, setting traps with care. The desert's loose sand would act as a blindfold, and rocks tumbling down slopes could slow the raiders if they came too close. The sound of the hovercrafts grew louder. Marcus's heart pounded, but he kept calm. Fear had no place here. Panic could get them killed. When the raiders' first hovercraft appeared, Marcus triggered his first trap. Rocks tumbled from the canyon walls, blocking their path and scattering the sand. The mercenaries roared in frustration, their sensors momentarily blinded. Marcus seized the chance to move Ilara and Lyra further into the canyon, deeper into shadows. "Keep going." "Don't stop," he urged, supporting Ilara as they stumbled over rough stones. Lyra's tiny hands gripped his tightly, refusing to let go. The raiders tried to follow, but Marcus's trap slowed them. One by one, their hovercrafts bumped and skidded, giving him enough time to guide the mother and child toward safety. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached a rocky overhang where the desert floor dropped sharply. Marcus gestured for them to hide behind a jagged wall of stone. They crouched low, barely breathing as the raiders cursed and searched, unable to find them. Ilara's voice was barely a whisper. You saved us." Again. Marcus shook his head, exhausted but resolute. "No, we saved each other. That's what humans do. We protect life when it matters most." Lyra, still clinging to her mother, looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. "You're our hero," she said softly. Marcus knelt beside them, brushing the dust from their clothes. Maybe, but courage isn't about heroes. It's about doing what's right, even when it's hard. Tonight we did the right thing. That's enough. The raiders finally gave up for the night, their hovercrafts retreating to the horizon. The desert fell silent again, but Marcus didn't relax completely. He knew the danger was not gone, just delayed. Yet in that moment, as he watched the mother and child catch their breath, he felt something powerful. Humanity was small, fragile, and often underestimated in this vast galaxy. But it had a heart that refused to yield. A heart that could protect, guide, and inspire. And tonight that heart had triumphed. The desert was quiet again, but Marcus knew they couldn't linger. The raiders might return at any moment, and the sun would rise soon, bringing its cruel heat. He helped Alara to her feet, supporting her as they carefully moved through the rocky terrain. Lyra ran beside them, her small hand never leaving his. "Where are we going?" Alara asked, voice weak but curious. Marcus glanced at the distant canyon walls. "There's an old supply ship hidden in the rocks. It's not much, but it can get us out of this desert. We'll be safe there." Alara's eyes widened.
"Oh, ship?"
"You mean we can leave?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, you'll be safe. And I promise I won't let anything happen to you." The child's eyes sparkled with hope. "Really, we'll fly away?" she asked, her small voice trembling with excitement. "Yes," Marcus said softly, smiling down at her. "We'll fly away together." The journey to the hidden ship was long and difficult. Marcus led them through narrow canyon paths, careful to avoid sharp rocks and loose sand. Alara leaned on him for support, and Lyra skipped beside them whenever the ground was safe. The sun was beginning to rise, painting the desert in gold and red, but Marcus didn't let the beauty distract him. They had to move quickly. Finally, they reached the concealed ship, hidden beneath a cluster of jagged rocks. Its metal hull was scratched and worn, but it looked functional. Marcus inspected the controls quickly, his hands moving with practiced ease. The engines hummed faintly, ready to lift off. "Is it safe?" Alara asked, her voice barely a whisper. Marcus gave her a reassuring smile. "I promise. We'll be safe once we take off. Trust me." Lyra clutched her mother's arm tightly. "I'm scared," she admitted softly. Marcus knelt down to meet her gaze. "It's okay to be scared. Being brave doesn't mean you aren't afraid. It means you keep going even when you are. And I promise I'll keep you safe." Alara took a deep breath, gathering her strength. "Then, let's go." "I trust you." Marcus helped them climb into the ship. Lyra pressed herself against her mother, still trembling, but Marcus's presence gave her courage. He checked the ship's systems once more and then engaged the engines. The ship lifted off slowly, stirring the desert sand below. As they rose higher, the desert became smaller, the red sands stretching endlessly beneath us. Monsieur Alara and Lyra watched in awe, the fear in their eyes slowly being replaced by wonder and relief. "You did it," Alara whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. "You saved us." Again, Marcus shook his head. "No, we did it together. Courage isn't just one person. It's all of us helping each other, protecting each other." Lyra hugged her mother tightly, then looked up at Marcus with wide, shining eyes. "You're my hero," she said softly, her voice full of admiration and innocence. Marcus smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't felt in years. Humanity was fragile in this galaxy, small and often underestimated. But moments like this reminded him of what they were truly capable of: compassion, courage, and heart. As the ship soared away from the desert, the red sands fading beneath them, Marcus looked at Alara and Lyra. He knew the journey wasn't over. There would be dangers ahead, challenges in the unknown galaxy, but for now they were safe, together, and free. And sometimes Marcus thought that was enough. For a small, fragile species, humans could shine brightly in the darkest corners of the galaxy. And today, in the red desert of Viridian 9, humanity's light had guided and protected 2 lives that depended on it. Most weeks had passed since Marcus had rescued Alara and Lyra from the scorching desert of Viridian 9. They were now in the safety of a human colony on a distant planet, a small settlement of explorers and settlers. The colony was peaceful, with soft light from distant stars spilling into clean metal corridors. Here, the mother and child could finally recover, away from the dangers of the desert, Ilara was slowly regaining her strength. The ropes had left marks on her glowing blue skin, but the pain was fading, replaced with a quiet resilience. Lyra had regained her bright, curious energy, running through the corridors of the colony, always stopping to wave at Marcus whenever he passed. Marcus watched them both from a distance at first. He had never considered himself a teacher or a protector beyond the heat of the desert, but now he found himself caring deeply for them. Every small smile, every gesture of trust, strengthened a bond he had not expected to form. Marcus, Ilara said softly one morning, approaching him in the colony's common area, I still can't believe we survived. Not just the desert, not just the raiders, but everything. And it's because of you. Marcus shook his head with a faint smile. I didn't do it alone. You stayed strong. Lyra stayed brave. We all helped each other. That's what matters. Ilara's eyes softened. Still, you showed us humanity at its best. Courage, kindness, heart. Not just strength, but heart. Lyra came running up, her 4 sparkling eyes wide with excitement. Marcus, look what I found. She held up a small glowing stone from the nearby mining area. It's for you. For saving us. Marcus crouched down to her level. Thank you, Lyra, that's very special. He smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the desert suns. You know, sometimes the smallest gestures mean the most. The 3 of them spent hours together each day. Marcus taught Lyra how to climb safely, how to navigate the colony's corridors, and even small tricks for staying alert in dangerous places. Lyra laughed often, her fear of the desert replaced by curiosity and trust. Ilara began helping in the colony as well, contributing her knowledge of the desert planet and its creatures. She worked closely with Marcus, learning human tools and strategies and sharing her alien perspective. Every moment they spent together, trust deepened and a quiet, unspoken bond formed between the 3 of them. One evening, under the soft light of the colony's observation dome, Lyra sat between Marcus and her mother. Will you stay with us forever? She asked softly, a hint of worry in her voice. Marcus looked at the little girl and then at Ilara. He saw hope, trust, and love in their eyes. Kneeling down, he took Lyra's small hands in his. As long as you'll have me, I'll stay. I promise. Ilara placed her hand on his shoulder, a gentle gesture of gratitude and connection. You didn't just save our lives, she said softly. You gave us hope, a chance to rebuild. You reminded us that your kind, can shine even in the darkest places. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. He had faced dangers in the galaxy, battled harsh environments, and survived countless threats. But nothing compared to the quiet strength of this family and the trust they had placed in him. It was fragile, yes, but it was real, and it mattered more than any victory he had ever won. That night, as they sat together under the starlit dome, Marcus realized something profound. Humanity's power wasn't just in weapons, in ships, or in physical strength. It was in courage, compassion, and the ability to protect others, even when the odds were against them. And with Ilara and Lyra beside him, he knew that power had found its place. Together they were stronger than any danger, braver than any fear, and brighter than any desert sun. Months had passed since Marcus had rescued Ilara and Lyra from the burning deserts of Viridian 9. The trio had become inseparable. In the safety of the human colony, Ilara's strength had returned fully, and Lyra's laughter now filled the corridors, a constant reminder of life and hope. But the bond they shared with Marcus had grown beyond gratitude. It had become family. One evening, under the soft glow of the colony's observation dome, Lyra tugged on Marcus's sleeve. Will you stay with us? Forever? She asked, her 4 eyes filled with hope and a quiet fear that he might leave. Marcus knelt to her level, taking her tiny hands in his. As long as you'll have me, I'll stay. I promise, he said, his voice gentle but firm. Lyra's small face lit up with a bright smile, and she hugged him tightly, her tiny arms wrapped around his neck. Ilara joined them, placing a hand over Marcus's shoulder. Her glowing blue skin shimmered softly in the light, and her eyes held a depth of gratitude words could never fully capture. You saved our lives. More than once, she said, her voice trembling. But you gave us more than that. You gave us hope. You reminded us. Humans are capable of so much, even in the darkest places. Marcus shook his head. I didn't do it alone. We did it together. Courage, kindness, love. That's what keeps us alive. That's what makes us strong. Not weapons, not ships, not numbers. Heart. Humanity's heart. Lyra looked up at him, eyes wide. Your heart is so big, she whispered, as if realizing something important for the first time. Marcus smiled softly, feeling a warmth he had never experienced in the cold expanse of space. All his battles, all his missions, they had never mattered as much as this. Protecting life, offering hope, and standing for what was right. That was humanity at its best. That was what could shine even in alien worlds, deserts, and dangers. Ilara leaned closer, resting her head lightly against his shoulder. You are more than a human, she whispered. You are a guardian, a protector, and a friend. You are our family now. The little girl giggled, hugging both of them, and Marcus felt a lump rise in his throat. He realized then that family, courage, and compassion were stronger than fear, stronger than danger, and brighter than any sun in the galaxy. Humanity might be small in the universe, fragile even, but it could shine with a light that no darkness could extinguish. Outside the observation dome, the twin moons of the colony's sky glimmered against a sea of stars. Marcus looked at them, Ilara and Lyra, and felt the full weight of what he had done. Not in pride or glory, but in the quiet understanding that he had made a difference. He had shown what humans were truly capable of. Bravery, love, and heart. Thank you, Lyra whispered softly, leaning her tiny head against his chest. Marcus hugged her back, looking down at her glowing eyes full of life and trust. No, thank you, he said. You remind me why we matter. You remind me why humans shine even in the darkest places. Ilara smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. We are safe. Because of you. Because of your heart. Because of humanity. Marcus let the moment sink in, feeling the enormity of what had happened. The galaxy was full of dangers, cruelty, and cold stars. But humans had something different, something rare. The courage to act, the strength to protect, and the heart to care. That was their power. That was their light. And in this quiet, peaceful colony under alien moons and distant stars, Marcus realized that humanity's light would never fade. It shone in the brave, in the kind, in those willing to risk everything for others. Lyra hugged him tightly once more. My mommy is safe. Because of you, she whispered. Marcus smiled softly, looking at Ilara, then at the girl. No, because of all of us, he said. And in that moment, under alien stars and distant moons, humanity had proven itself once again, not with weapons, not with numbers, but with heart, courage, and love. And that was enough to light up even the darkest corners of the galaxy.